My name is Elyse Redden, and I am a part of Faith in the Valley and also a tenant leader with the Homes Guarantee campaign. My faith tradition is I am a practicing Buddhist. I practice within the SGI organization, practice the philosophy of Nichiren Buddhism. So that is my faith community. So, I have a long backstory, but tonight inspired me in a different kind of a way. So I want to share something with you. So, what inspired me? This is what inspired me. I moved to Merced in 2005 after losing my home in a bad mortgage deal where I was upside down. And in the beginning of the mortgage crisis back in 2005, 2007, I got caught up in the precursor to the housing crisis, so to speak. So I moved to Merced in 2005 in November, and Tameka Harris was the first friend that I had when I moved here. At that time, I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I came from a 4-bedroom house, and I just so was unprepared of being a tenant. So what moved me into organizing tenant work was that story of myself losing my home, but more importantly, Tameka Harris. So Tameka Harris died in Merced on April 14th of 2020. At that time, she was unhoused. She had been in prison or jail, and she had mental health issues. The apartment that she was living in, she got arrested and put out of her home and never made it back into her home. But in April of 2020, from actually March, she was in a shelter and she had an episode and she left the shelter and could never get in because it was pandemic. And so as one of her closest friends, to the extent of she could very well be my own daughter, I let her stay with me and my family. But in the days before her death, she left my home because she had an episode. And the next thing that we found out about is that she was killed on the 140 at a time when we were sheltering in. And nobody should have been on the road. She was hit by 2 cars. And because she was unhoused, she had no apartment for them to find her. And the day that she died, we had the sheriffs come to our apartment and ask, were we her family? And because we were not legally her family, we said no, and they left. My husband and I wondered why they came. And so we started calling around, and then we found out that she had gotten killed on the 140. So what inspires me to do housing justice, housing work, is the fact that Tameka died unhoused. She died because the system failed her. And not just that, because she had no address, there was no report in the newspaper. Nobody made any to-do about her death. But still, almost 3 years later, we're still devastated by her loss. Home is sacred. Housing is a right. Nobody should be unhoused. I am a service veteran, and even as a service disabled veteran, I found myself without housing in the city of Merced, something I never imagined would ever happen to me. So you never know when something is going to happen in your realm. You never know when you might be the one who's facing an eviction or facing homelessness, and who do you turn to at those times? So that's what brought me to this housing work. And in the name of Tameka, or in the vein of Tameka, and knowing her backstory and everything that happened to her, and hearing about Mr. Claude Bailey tonight, it lets me know that the position that I've taken to work as a leader, a tenant leader for housing justice, is the right work to be doing at this time. The steps that I took to get involved was just to get involved. I found out where, actually how it actually happened. Somebody invited me to go to a city council meeting where we were advocating for inclusionary zoning at that particular point in time. So I showed up at a Merced City Hall meeting, and the council really was not receptive to inclusionary zoning and actually voted it down. But that was my beginning of remonstrating with the city council in Merced. Since that time, I had gotten heavily involved with the Homes Guarantee campaign, which is a national campaign, which right now is getting a lot of traction in advocating for Freddie and Fannie Mae, the FHFA, which is the Federal Housing Finance Agency, to put in tenant restrictions, tenant protections. In other words, if we're going to get money from the federal government, if the federal government is going to give developers and landlords the ability to use government money to make their property and to make wealth, that they should build in tenant protections to protect the tenants that eventually move into those apartments. And I think that, rent hikes, restricting rent hikes, advocating for tenant protections, tenant advocacy groups, where tenants can really be protected from the things landlords do to them, I think is really an essential issue in keeping people housed. What I've learned about power is gained through dialogue. Power is gained through training. Power is gained through having a shared vision. People really working together for a common goal. In tonight's activity, rallying around this bill, SB 567, which is additions to the tenant protections that's already in law, filling those loopholes. Power is gained by talking about what the problems are, talking about what the solutions could be, and really working to ensure that our elected officials do the right things and ensuring that it passes, all of the legal, all of the different stakeholders along the way to really make it a law for the citizens. What's an accomplishment through my recent organizing that we're proud of? I think that just being a part of the Home is Sacred campaign itself, is something we're proud of. We use that same platform to help some of the tenants in Merced, around some of the issues that we had with the weather. We had flooding and we had people being displaced. So we used that platform to demonstrate for, emergency ordinances to protect, the people who are being vacated from their property in the guise of having to make those kind of repairs because of the damage that was done to the property, from the rains, which everything wasn't as it was made out to be. So through our working with those tenants and working in the community, that we were able to get some residents to be able to move back into the properties that they were. I think why it's important that we're here today is that we can see, and we can see the people who are interested, and we can hear their stories, and that we call in our elected officials to take accountability for what the citizens need them to do. That's why it's important that we drove here from our nice places in Merced to be a part of this action. Faith is the everything in my journey as a leader. As a practicing Buddhist, I don't have to be so affected with who does what. The chanting of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is about equality, that we're all equal in the eyes of the universe itself, and that every person has a right, and housing is a right that every person should. What comes to mind to me is having my own space, having my own bed, having my own bathroom, having my own laundry facilities, being able to cook, to wash my dishes, to sit on my couch and watch TV, to have my internet, to have a door where somebody can knock and come visit me. Home is sacred. Everybody should have a space where they can be. What it means to me to be a leader is to give hope, to give people a sense of hope, that no matter how bad your situation is, somebody cares about you. Somebody's willing to walk with you. Somebody's willing to teach you. Somebody's willing to teach you how to speak for yourself, to advocate for yourself, to stand on your own 2 feet, and we unite arm in arm together towards the victory of having your own space, your own place to live. The message that I would say to someone like that is, first of all, even though you feel that you're powerless, you're absolutely not. Your voice, your story, and your situation is your greatest thing that you can use. Find somebody who can hear you. Find somebody. Keep going. Keep knocking on doors. Keep asking. Keep telling until you're victorious. Because there are people around you that will unite with you, that will share in your struggle, and they will also share in your victory. They'll be there cheering you on. That's the message I would like to give.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.